If you even suspect that there might be contamination in your home or in your neighborhood, one of your best friends is a law called the Freedom of Information Act. There's a federal Freedom of Information Act, sometimes called a FOIA. There's a state FOIA, and sometimes even your local community will have one. And what's a FOIA? A law that simply says that information in government's files belongs to the people, and that if the people make a request to see that information, they get to see it. Now, what does this have to do with environmental problems? Well, in my experience, 20 years of being an environmental lawyer, what I've learned is that government is often the first one to know that there's a problem. And sometimes government knows years before you do. And by government, I'm talking about the Environmental Protection Agency, federal or state. Sometimes a state regulator is known by a different name, for example, Department of Environmental Quality. Your local city, your village, your town may know about the environmental problem well before you do. Now, why is that? Because in different ways, what I've seen is the polluter will approach the regulator or your town or village and say, we have a problem, will you help us test for it? Will you help us deal with it in some way? Sometimes it's as terrible as, will you help us keep information of the problem away from the citizens who are most affected by it? Truly, those kinds of things go on. And so if you suspect that there may be some environmental problem that may affect your family, for example, if you see testing in your neighborhood that you haven't been told about, testing at a polluted site up the street or within a mile, say, of where you live, and you're wondering what's going on and might it affect me, that's a good time to file a Freedom of Information or FOIA request. Now, so here's what you do. To know how to do it, you go on the website of the governmental agency, say the EPA or your local town, your local village, and you usually get instructions for how to make a FOIA request. Follow those. Usually you can submit your request online. Some other guidance I'll give you is to keep it simple. Use simple words. Ask for just a limited number of documents. The more complicated you make your request, the more categories of documents you ask for, the more excuses you're giving government to delay their response to you, to delay their providing you the documents you have a legal right to see, or maybe an excuse to just not comply at all because they say this is too complicated or it will cost too much. Keep it simple. Another thing that's very important is to make sure that government gives you the documents in the time frame required by law. Sometimes it's as little as 7 days. If you don't get your documents in the time period allowed by law, go back at government and say, where's my documents? And if you're not getting answers, you're not getting your documents on time, or they're redacting documents or holding some back based on flimsy excuses, you probably need to go see a lawyer who can help you. Because if that kind of thing is going on, if your government is treating you that way, there may well be a problem and they may well be keeping it from you. So go get a lawyer, go after them, and get the documents that the Freedom of Information Act entitles you as a citizen to have.